تنظيم هذا الحدث المهم الذي يجمع بين رؤساء الدول والحكومات.
The heads of states and governments as responsible for drafting and implementing the policies of their countries, and between the leaders of the most important organizations, institutions, and financing institutions and banks, whose partnership with the governments contribute to developing the international trends regarding all international issues that are of concern to us and influences our nations and our future. In addition to the representatives of employees and employers who play a very important role in a world in which we realize all the volume of intervention between different international crises and the big influence they have on all aspects of life. From this perspective, I was keen on sharing with you today in this meeting this important speech about recovering from the pandemic, as well as the future of the world order in a new world that is being formulated day after the other before us after 2 years of the beginning of an international crisis that changed economic, social aspects in our lives and is bigger than other grave crises the world faced. I think that you agree with me that any attempt to overcome the repercussions of this crisis, the human being should be on top and at the heart of it. The pandemic COVID-19 was and is still a human crisis in general. It is not just a health or an economic or a social crisis. And Egypt was able to overcome a lot of the repercussions of COVID-19 over the past 2 years. Through financial, economic, social policies that were proven to be effective and successful. And right now, we are exerting other efforts that are acknowledged by different international entities. These efforts enabled us to achieve positive growth rates despite all the difficulties we faced and are still facing, and contributed to finding a stable and status as well as an international confidence in the ability of the Egyptian economy to absorb the crises and overcome them. Egypt was also able, despite the crisis, to implement ambitious initiatives to improve the standard of living of the citizens in rural areas and in the most needy regions through Decent Life Initiative, as well as extend the network of social protection for millions of families through the program Takaful and Karama. And this helped in reducing the burden of the pandemic, as well as the efforts exerted by Egypt to enhance financial inclusion and the integration of the informal sector, as well as digitization. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to be honest and recognize that this crisis revealed clearly the weaknesses in some aspects of the international system. And we need to stop at them and study them further, aiming at finding effective solutions to overcome them. Consequently, I would like to talk to you today about the future of the world order over the coming years, and its ability to respond to the urgent international crises as well as their multi-dimensional impacts. Let me, in this context, raise a number of questions.
هل يمكن لنا
Can we
تحمل تبعات استمرار وجود
incur the
61%
repercussions of having 61% of manpower in the world in informal sector,
فضلا عن
in
افتقار نحو
addition
4
to the fact that 4 billion human beings lack social security? If the answer is no, and I think the answer is no,
فيصبح التساؤل
then
المنطقي
the next logical question is, do we have the ability to collectively get out of the crisis and look forward to a better future?
وإذا كانت الإجابة
And if the answer is yes, and I think that we want it to be yes, then which path are we going to
هل
take?
نستمر على السياسات
Should we
القديمة
continue using the old policies or try to look for other new ones?
واسمحوا لي أيضا
And let me
أن أضع
also
أمامكم
put before you all
عددا من النقاط التي
a
قد
number
تساهم
of points that
النقاش
can
حول هذه
enrich
التساؤلات.
the discussion about these questions.
أولا
First,
إننا وقد اتفقنا
we
على
agreed
صعوبة الاستمرار
on
على
the
الوضع
difficulty
الحالي.
of going on
فعلينا أن
with
نتفق
the usual
كذلك
business as
على
usual.
أنه
So we
لا
need
خروج من
also to
هذه
agree
الأزمة
that we won't be able to get
دون
out of
سياسات
this crisis
متكاملة
without integrated
وآليات
policies
فاعلة
and effective
لتنفيذها
mechanisms
وقدرة
to implement
مالية
them as well
على
as the
ذلك.
financial ability.
وتلك التحديات
And
تدعو
these
الكثير من
challenges
الدول النامية والأقل
are faced by a lot
صعوبة
of
جمة
the developing
في
countries
تجاوزها.
and least developing countries, and
ثانياً،
they will find difficulties in
التعافي من
overcoming
الأزمة
them.
ممكن.
Secondly, we can recover from
إذا
the
توفرت
crisis
الإرادة
if
الدولية
we have
الصادقة
the real
والتزم
international
جميع
will,
الأطراف
and if
بمبدأ
all parties are
تقاسم
committed to the
الأعباء
principle of
والمسؤولية
sharing responsibilities and
في إطار من
burdens
الشراكة
within a
الدولية
framework of
الحقيقية
international real partnership
ذات الآليات الواضحة
with clear
والمسؤوليات
mechanisms
المحددة.
and specific
ثالثاً، إن
responsibilities.
إعادة
Third,
ترتيب الأولويات
reprioritizing is a necessity, and this should be accompanied by the post-crisis period, and this should not take us to different paths that would hamper our collective efforts to achieve the sustainable development goals or weaken the confidence we all gave to the sustainable development goals and their implementation mechanisms, with their economic, social, environmental dimensions. Fourth, the importance of the role of international organizations and institutions in drafting policies for action that would find solutions to social problems that emanate and develop fast in a manner that exceeds the ability of the current international system to keep pace with and to adapt to. Here, I would like to refer to the pivotal role played by the International Labour Organization in this effect, especially the world call for comprehensive sustainable recovery ratified by the Labour Conference in the year 2021, so that it would be a clear path for all parties to achieve comprehensive, sustainable recovery with the human being at its center. Ladies and gentlemen, the world climate crisis and its negative adverse effects, of course, are reflected on the efforts of our countries in recovering from this crisis, the pandemic, and its multiple effects, especially in developing countries, are many. Despite all that, our world today has no luxury to wait or to be reluctant to exert the needed efforts to confront climate change and mitigate its impacts. Thus, once more, I would like to confirm the importance of finding methods to enable the developing countries to meet their commitments and raise their ambitions according to Paris Agreement without violating the principle of fair transition and equality, as well as providing social equality and supporting development efforts in addition to eradicating poverty.
يتأتى
This
دون
won't be
توفير بيئة
attained
دولية
without creating
مواتية
a suitable,
تساهم في حشد
conducive
التمويل اللازم
environment
للدول
through
النامية
mobilizing the resources
دعم
needed for
جهودها
the developing countries to
لمواجهة
support their
تغير
efforts to
المناخ
confront climate change
والتكيف
as
مع
well as
آثاره
adapting to its
وبناء
effects.
القدرة
In
على
addition to
تحملها
building
مع وضع
capacities
التعهدات
to
موضع التنفيذ
adapt to it, as well as
وتقليص الفجوات
implementing the different
التي
pledges and
يواجهها
commitments and narrow
عمل
the
المناخ
gaps
الدولي
facing
على كافة
environment and climate
الأصعدة.
action on different
وهذا
levels.
ما هو بعض ما نصبو
And this
إلى
is
تحقيقه.
just part of what we want to
رئاسة مصر
attain
لقمة
while
المناخ
Egypt presides over the next climate
الشيخ
summit that would be
نهاية
held
العام
in Sharm el-Sheikh
الجاري.
by the end of the current year.
وسنعمل
And we
مع
will
كافة
work
الأطراف
with all
بحياد
parties in
وشفافية
an impartial,
في سبيل
transparent manner to achieve
ختاماً،
that. At the
أنني
end,
أتطلع
I'm looking
لتلقي
forward
الخلاصات
to
والنتائج
receiving the
التي
feedback
ستصدر
and
عن
the
النتائج
results that would come
التي
out of the
ستعكس
forum
النقاشات
that would reflect
والمداولات
the
القيمة
discussions and the
التي
valuable
دارت
deliberations that took place during it.
وأنني على ثقة
And I'm confident
أنها ستساهم
that this would contribute to enhancing our understanding to the dimension of this world crisis we are facing and the methods of moving forward towards finding effective solutions that would achieve the aspirations of our peoples and their just aspirations. Thank you.
Be the first to know. The news live at the site of the event. Information on events as they are happening.